Early on in our chess career, we all learn about the points value of pieces and how that dictates who's winning and who's losing. But I'm going to show you how that's incorrect. And I'm not talking about sacrifices that lead to a forced mate. I'm talking about being down something like a pawn in this game, being okay the full game because of the activity of your pieces and getting the initiative. It's something we've all heard about, but we've never actually tried, and I'm going to show you how to do it. This game started off in a queen's gambit. If you don't play it, that's fine, because this pattern that I'm going to show you is seen throughout all different openings, and the concepts are exactly the same. It just comes from the Slav, where I select to take and play bishop to g5. It's a lesser known line, so that my opponent usually don't know what to do against it. Anyway, they played a decent move, queen b6. This is the main pattern. When you see your opponent's queen attacking these pawns, you shouldn't always think about playing something like b3 here, queen c7, always being passive and trying to defend the pawns. Instead, attack. In this position, that's pretty easy to get some development, because that's the main thing you want to do. Here you can just play knight c3, which looks pretty obvious, because if they decide to take, you simply take the pawn in the center, and you're not even down material, and your opponent has to play some very weird moves in order to not be down material. Anyway, my opponent therefore decided to protect the pawn here, and now rook b1 is an okay move, but what should immediately come to mind is to again ignore this, and instead play knight f3 here, which is exactly what I did. After queen takes b2, you may think your knight's hanging and you're completely losing, but look, the eval even said it's fine. You can simply bring your bishop back, which is what I did. This may look a bit weird and computerish, but I recognize this from other lines as well, which is very useful. For example, from the Unglen Gambit, where you take, trade, and I like to play this line by moving my knight out. This is a whole nother thing, and actually put it down in the comments if you want to see this whole Unglen Gambit line. Anyway, if they decide to take, I bring my bishop back and get to a mainline Unglen Gambit, but this kind of idea is shown as well in this position, where I brought my bishop back. Because honestly, now that's not pinning the pawn, it's not doing much on this diagonal. So I brought it back, and rook c1 is not a move I really wanted to play because I'd rather have my rook go to b1. Here my opponent moved their queen back, which is definitely a good move. Because if they decide to keep it there, for example, develop their knight, now you can see, already losing because of something like rook b1, knight b5, and everything is going around. If they go queen e7, you can go bishop to f4, going after this here. Knight a6, we can come here and check. And actually, the computer recommends you to go queen takes d6. Everything else is completely losing, which just shows how good this position is. Therefore, my opponent had played the right move back here by moving their queen back. I played rook to b1, again attacking their queen after moving my rook. They brought their queen back. This may look a bit weird and very passive, but other than that move, all the other moves either allow me to get tempos on them or restrict the natural development of their pieces. Now, this is a key position, because now the queen's gone away, and I'm just down a pawn, but I have more activity. My opponent is going to be trying to get all the pieces active and stay safe now that they're just up a pawn, while I need to prove that I still have some sort of advantage, or at least equality. So, what do you do when you're up development? Well, you should open up the position. That's something everyone should know. So what move do you think you should play? Put it down in the comments below so that I can see what videos to put out next. Anyway, the move is e4. You want to break open the position when you're up in development so that you can get to the other side and get some nice tactics off. We traded off pawns and we start developing. And I just want to get castled now and then start attacking the king, for example, on the e file. But I noticed that they weren't doing anything on the king side. And again, even Stockfish agrees that now I'm slightly winning. Instead, they should have tried something, I don't know, knight f6. It can be a bit weird, but they're still up a pawn, so they can at some point gambit away the pawn and then just try and stay safe. But they decide to try and just develop their queen side, but leave their king in the center. Now, here I again just castled, continuing with my plan, and they played another thing which I didn't like very much. They played a6 and b5. Again, the computer says not very good, because this gets my bishop to a position I wanted it to go to anyway, where it controls a very important square that I had my eye on. Do you know what it is? Yet again, put it down in the comments below. This is another key position, because I'm looking at the d5 square. I want to push d5 and open up the position, and this bishop here just helps me with that. Now, they developed their knight out, and I simply traded it away, so that's not defending the square, and pushed d5. Now in this position, my opponent played smartly and decided to decline this pawn. If they did decide to take the pawn, it is just over. Because then, for example, rook e1 check. If they go bishop e7, you can go here, take here. And those pins are all over the place here. And they need to place, again, some weird moves. Now, right now, this is being threatened because of the knight is being pinned. You can't go something like rook here because I can simply take and then take, and you're just done. Therefore, you need to play something like f6, but then I can even go like rook c1, giving this away, but then I can start attacking you, and it's completely winning. So, anyway, going back here, they decided to decline this free pawn. I simply now traded, gave them an isolated pawn, and again, attacked and developed my final piece. Now here, the queen again is also the last piece that needs to be developed. Sorry, not my final piece. But now, this is also a very passive move. Something like queen f5 may have been a bit better. But still, after rook c1 controlling this open file, there's a lot of stuff that is not very pleasant. For example, rook c7 is coming in. But still, this move is much worse because then I could go queen g5, which just look very nice. Again, now you have a target to go after, this weak pawn here. And also, I have ideas of maybe bringing the bishop out here much more actively. Here, they decided to give me back the pawn because they just felt like it was enough, but there's still nothing because after I took here, notice that the king can't even castle. They didn't want to trade away, they wanted to go here, but that just gives me a really strong bishop that just can't be kicked out for now. I started to go rook c1 because, again, you just want to activate your pieces with tempo. Very important. You can see this theme throughout the whole game because this rook wasn't doing much good with this b5 pawn, so I brought it to a better file. They decided to try and attack me, but I just played it very softly with f3. Then they played a really weird move. They sacrificed. This is something I was considering, but then I put it away immediately because now the material was equal before this, so sacrificing is not something they should be thinking of doing. And after this, I also noticed something that they missed. I get a fork. Now, sure, they can fork me back, but it's not the same because after I take, he takes, I'm winning the bishop. They decide to be greedy, but I simply pinned them. And it's just over now. They just let me get check, check, and then I play a nice move, bringing my rook over here. Rook e8 was forced, mate, on the next move. And my opponent resigned. This is a very instructive game, showing you how even though you're down a pawn, you can still be okay. And especially when you see these queen moves early on, don't always be afraid of protecting the pawn. Instead, go on, try just not caring about it, get some activity, and you can see how devastating this can be.